As the battle for the multiverse reaches its final conclusion, heroes and villains from across the DC universe will need to come together like never before in order to challenge the Batman Who Laughs. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Dark Knight's Death Metal issue number 6 and find out together, shall we? Alrighty then, so picking up from where the last issue left off, the final amassed forces of the DC universe are finally ready for one last heroic charge against their enemies. The heroes are pulling out all the stops against the Darkest Night, and Black Lantern Batman even manages to resurrect the Batman Who Laughs original corpse. Did I miss something in a tie-in? That feels like that should be really important. The battle itself is actually part of a much bigger diversion, so Wonder Woman and the Lobo Legion can sneak inside the Forge with Carter Hall's journal. The journal is actually the hero's most complete account of the DC universe and its history, and at the very end of the book, Lex Luthor has put together plans for a machine that he hopes to use to untie the knots of the multiverse. All part of one great last-ditch effort to try and return some sense of normalcy to the multiverse that is literally falling apart right now. Of course, this path is fraught with its own danger too, as Wonder Woman and Lobo come under attack by some dark, unknowable evil which seems to be the very embodiment of the Darkest Night seeping into creation. Man, you know, after all the hard work Greg Capullo put in drawing stuff, he really lucked out with this story, didn't he? Oh yeah, Darkest Night, the big new bad guy, I barely have to draw him. What's killing Lobo and everyone? I barely have to draw that either. Speaking of the Darkest Night, how's his battle with Perpetua going? Well, you won't believe it, but he's actually winning. Perpetua, the goddess of creation, browbeats the former Batman Who Laughs for a little bit, saying that he is everything horrible and primal that she tried to stop by bringing order to the multiverse with an iron fist. And if you think that Perpetua was teeing up the Darkest Night for a villain speech, well, you're totally 100% on the money, because he has an amazing villain speech prepared. The Darkest Night says perhaps the reason Perpetua tried so hard to curb the savage primal instinct of mankind in her creations wasn't because she thought it was the right thing to do, but that deep down gods like her ultimately fear their creations and fear that one day they will become as powerful or stronger than they are, and indeed that day is now. And because the Darkest Night is always a comedian at heart, he has himself a deeply ironic punishment for Perpetua. He decides to seal her back up in pieces of the Source Wall. With her last words, though, Perpetua says that the Darkest Night has no idea what cosmic god game he's playing at, and if he continues to keep rocking the boat the way he is, it's only a matter of time until he earns the wrath of the Hands, aka the Hands of Creation. You know, the big blue hand at the beginning of creation. Every time the Justice League travels back in time, everyone thought it was Dr. Manhattan for a little bit, and then it turned out that wasn't true. Now back over with Wonder Woman, after Lobo's death, she ends up losing Carter Hall's journal. It's there too, she also comes face to face with the Crisis Darkseid holding baby Mobius, who takes this opportunity to mock her. Once again, Diana ends up greatly doubting herself. She couldn't defeat the Batman Who Laughs originally when she used Crisis energy, and here and now she couldn't keep hold of the book to save everyone. And with no plans for Lex Luthor's machine, it looks like everyone in the DC universe is positively screwed. But wait a minute, a machine to bring truth? Wonder Woman never needed Lex Luthor to do that. She is the spirit of truth, the very DC embodiment of it. She can build her own machine. And indeed, she sets to work doing just that. It's also here that the narration that's been happening all issue long, provided once again by zombified Sergeant Rock, starts to make a lot more sense. You see, Rock talks about all the different prayers he's heard on all the different battlefields that he's fought in his entire life. He admits he's not much of a religious man himself, but that the prayers have always fascinated him. Sometimes they're sad, sometimes they're greedy, sometimes enemies pray for each other, but more than anything, the thing that always broke Rock's heart is that no matter how much he ever tried to talk to God, no God ever listened to him. But today, though, at the end of all things, is not that day at all. Wonder Woman manages to complete her machine, which turns out to be a literal chainsaw of ultimate truth, one which she uses to cut through the crisis knots, and in doing so return the lost memories to all the different heroes and villains of the past lives they lived before all the different crises. And I gotta say, as the comic winds down, I positively love the image of a golden Wonder Woman literally weaving story threads inside inside people's minds once again. And so that was Dark Knight's Death Metal issue number 6, everybody, and for an event that's admittedly had a lot of ups and downs and a lot of issues with tone across all the different tie-ins, this is definitely the series as I like it. One big, over-the-top, in-your-face, self-indulgent, self-referential thrill ride. This issue, too, I think codifies it, even if it needed to be at this point, that Wonder Woman Diana is actually the true star and true focus of death metal. So much of the story has been about her own self-doubt and her compromising herself to try and keep people safe, but here, literally at the end in the final battle, everything is saved by the truth. I will admit, too, the idea that now everyone in the DC universe remembers all their past lives and everything that happened to them before all the different crises is a fascinating concept and one I hope they certainly play with moving on into Future State and beyond, but you can never be 100% certain with these things, can ya? Overall, I enjoyed this one. I found it to be thoroughly exciting, and I'm more interested now than I was before to see how all of this is going to shake out in the big finale. Hey there everyone, Cape Joel again, and I want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you see, be sure to like, subscribe, comment. It really helps drive engagement and helps me out too. Also, if you are a patron, which you can become for as little as $1 a month, you will get exclusive content that no one else can ever see, and you'll get to see the Comic Multiverse podcast before anyone else too. You can check out all this and more down in the description. And until next time everyone, this has been Cape Joel, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.